Hey everybody, it's Brad here with a review for you. Now, typically we don't do a ton of reviews because a lot of companies want to send you stuff and then it just becomes a commercial. But here's the scoop. We only will do these things. Whoops, it's wiggling. If we actually like the product. So spoiler alert. What I figure I'll do is I'll tell you what it is, what it does, and I'm not going to spend a ton of time on specs because you can read the specs and I'll show you the specs. But I think the only reason for these kind of videos really should be so that you can hear my opinion, my real world experience with the product, so that you can make a decision better whether this is for you or not. And so that's how I'm going to approach this. Instead of there's tons of videos out there that just run you through every little scoop and doodad that these things do. And that's great. I just don't feel like we should repeat the wheel or we should continue doing the same things that have been done again and again and again. So that said, Okmo or Okmo, I honestly don't know how you pronounce it because they're a Chinese company. And if I'm saying it wrong, I am apologetic. But Okmo, and this is the G2000 all-in-one solar generator. Now, that's kind of it's not really all-in-one because the solar panels are separate. And that's one thing. I actually did not get the solar panels to test this with. They're sending me those later, and I can give you guys an update on how fast they charge. But you can charge it various ways. You can charge it with a car setup, like the 12-volt thing in a car, or you can plug it straight into the wall, which is what we did, regular wall power. And okay, another spoiler alert. I like these kind of devices because it's all in one. You don't have to figure out all the ins and outs of solar and diodes and battery capacity and cable sizes. I can't tell you, I have honestly killed a lot of batteries. We've put together probably about 6 or 7 full-blown solar system battery backup setups for the house that, would run our majority of our stuff in our house for at least 3 or 4 days. So serious panels. But what's nice about this is you just it's all in one. You plug it in, you turn it on, and you're off to the races. Okay? These things, or this one, does AC and DC. You can see that you've got your various inputs for photovoltaic. Your DC in, you've got another input for wall power, but you've got your setup there for the old school cigarette lighter kind of jack. You've got power for USB, even USB 3.0. This is a pure sine wave unit so that you can actually use it with sensitive computer equipment. It's not going to hurt those things. And so here's the scoop. I'll show you the specs right now. Okay, now for the meat and potatoes of this video. I have used this unit now for a few weeks, and I've actually put it through some serious torture tests. Not by accident. They were a necessity. We lost power here, and I was in the middle of a project. I was emptying out a gigantic 200 gallon tank of water, a hot tub. And the power went out, and I had to get it done because I knew that there was snow coming the next day, and I didn't want to leave it halfway done. It would have been bad. So I didn't even know if this thing was going to do it because I was using a trash pump, a water trash pump, and those things pull a lot of amps. So I went and got this thing thinking, well, it'll probably just give me a fault and then it'll shut off. And so I went and got it, and it worked. It worked like a champ. I will say that it did not put out, the pump seemed a little starved for juice, but it worked. It worked about 3/4 as well as it would have been on a regular wall power. But I ran that sucker for 2 hours and it worked great. And this I was going to show you. It only used 2 bars of the power there. This is where it was left. Now, before that, actually, I used it for lighting. We had another power outage, and we used LED lights for probably about 4 hours one night, and it was 7 or 8 different lamps and bulbs and stuff, and it didn't flinch at all. Didn't blip at all. Also, now a real torture test. I took this sucker out to where my son and I are building a tree house, and we used a circular saw with it. And I used that, I'm trying to think of the amount of cuts. Probably about 30 to 40 cuts. And it only took it down 1 bar in power from there. So, all that to say, what I really like about it is that it's all in one. You don't have to do the math. You don't have to figure anything out. The battery bank on here is pretty good. I was surprised that it's as robust as it is. Again, you'll have to look at the specs to figure out what it is that you want to do with it, because I could rattle off a bunch of specs, but that's not going to be real world for you. But now, to think that this thing will run a water trash pump for a couple hours, and it only took it down to, not even half of the battery, that's a lot of juice going out. That's a lot of juice, a lot of amps, and it didn't seem to have a problem at all, which I was very impressed with. So friends, now I know there's folks out there that are going, well, would it run a freezer for a few days? I think so. Depending on your freezer, obviously, depending on the size, and just don't open the freezer. So I think the answer would be yes. Would it run a CPAP machine? That's a big one. I believe so. I think that you could run a CPAP machine. Well, it depends on the machine, but I don't want to get in trouble like that. You know what I mean? Because you could get it and say, well, I could only run it 3 nights when it, before it needed to be charged up. Well, okay, well then leave it plugged into the solar panel, and then you don't have a problem at all. Or you only use it when you need it. There's an idea. But now, build quality. It's built very solidly. Everything is plastic, but it doesn't feel cheap. It feels really solid. All the connections where there are bolts, it's really, they're nice, thick steel. It's not just, it doesn't feel cheapy, if that makes sense. Now, and I had, like I said, I've been dragging it around and using it for a bunch of different things for the past few weeks, and that's why it's probably it's like scratched up and banged up, but that was my fault. Now, when it comes to value, that is 100%, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? That's the kind of thing it is. So you're going to have to make that decision as to whether or not it's a good value to you. Me personally, I think it is a good value because of the battery bank. It's a little bigger than a lot of other competitors for this product grouping, I guess you could call it. Because there's a lot of other companies in this genre, in this market, in this space. But I think it's a good value. I really do. That said, only time will tell how long it lasts. See, that's the thing. And I have to be honest, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Who knows? I could use it 6 months and it could croak, or maybe it'll run for 5 years or 10 years. That I can't tell you. You'll have to figure that out or make a decision on your own as to whether or not you think it's going to go for it. Because I don't know. I haven't had it that long. Now, that said, I think it's a good product. I find it, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, a good value. A good value. Now, that said, you guys could probably say, well, I don't like it because this, or I love it because of that. Put your thoughts down in the comments section below, and hopefully See, wouldn't it be nice if we never ever had to use these things in an emergency situation? Now, I know these are great for like camping and stuff like that. Oh, take it out camping, charge up your devices. But then again, if you're camping, why would you have your nose in a phone or a computer or whatever? Go camping. But that's just me. That's just me. Don't throw stones. So anyway, there's my thoughts on this all-in-one solar whiz-bang awesome thingamajigger G2000 by Okmo, or your guess is as good as mine. Anyway, that's it. I'm Brad. You guys have an amazing and blessed day.